For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Thabi Madiba, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss Undeclared Crisis of the New Dawn. Welcome, Professor.
Morning.
People are on the streets on a daily basis protesting for service delivery as people lack decent shelters, water and sanitations that was promised to them 24 years ago. So will the New Dawn ever reach the voters, South African voters?
Well, you know, the meaning of the New Dawn is not obvious. We mustn't assume that the New Dawn means better housing, better this, that and the other. What I try to show in my article is that the focus seems to be on investment, on cleaning up, very important things. And I see this morning there's something about land. And in a sense that is ad hoc. The cleaning up is not ad hoc and the investment is not ad hoc. But the land thing was not what Ramaphosa and them wanted. And it's arisen because of the demands of the opposition and so forth, and some of the ANC support base. So my feeling is there needs to be a clear vision and program which incorporates all the needs that can be addressed and a timetable for addressing it. I wouldn't use the phrase New Dawn, but that is my sense of what is needed to go forward. A clear plan, a clear vision, and not responding to this and to that, and so forth.
And a lot of learners are denied a right to conditions that make education in a safe and conducive environment possible, as we have seen with the court battle against the Department of Basic Education on school infrastructure. So do you think the government regards education as a priority?
Well, I think it has to regard education as a priority because the economy does require people who are professionally better qualified. They can't just be cheap labor with no qualifications whatsoever. However, it has not taken steps to remedy the disparity between former white schools and schools in the African areas. I think it is partly because of corruption, partly because people don't really care very much about their job, their duties, what the struggle for freedom was about. Some of the people were not involved in that. They just come to steal. Some of them were involved, but they have lost their sense of concern for the poorest of the poor. And that is why these pit toilet deaths are not happening in Parktown. They are happening in the rural areas.
And you say that Ramaphosa's cabinet comprises people who have shown themselves to be unable and unwilling to perform their task, and those who are alleged to have been involved in or overseen departments involved in large scale of corruption or state capture. So what can you say about Ramaphosa's presidency? Now,
I'm not saying the cabinet, I'm saying some of the cabinet that is brought in apparently to contain opposition from people who supported Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. And I think in the conditions under which he came to be president, he had to make some concessions. But my argument is the concessions in terms of cabinet positions are insulting to people. To put Batabile Dlamini, I didn't mention other names, as Minister of Women Affairs is actually insulting to people because she has been a very irregular performer. She's not shown herself to be committed to the struggle for gender equality, and she's not going to do the job. So the question really is, has he appointed people in order to contain opposition who are not going to do the job? Now, if they're not going to do the job, the country, the people of the country are paying a price to keep him as president. Now, must the people of the country pay that price? That's what I'm asking. And that is the problem with these appointments. Not all, but some are really not competent. They allegedly corrupt, a lot of irregularity in the past.
And recently, former Gauteng Health MEC Qedani Mahlangu was elected as the ANC additional member for the PEC during the ANC's provincial election. So will this not have an impact on the ANC leading up to the 2019 elections?
I don't know whether it will have an impact on the ANC's support. I think polls seem to suggest that the ANC lost mainly from the middle classes, rising middle classes amongst black people, and perhaps those people would be upset about this. But what I think it is most important for is that there are ethical questions related to this, and it is that life is a demani. I don't want to just call it a tragedy, because it was a human-made set of deaths and torture and so forth. That is a real scar on the ANC's name. And are they not judging things very badly by allowing someone like this to be on a provincial executive? They need to ask it not just for election's sake, but also for the type of organization that they want to be seen as. Maybe they're not that type of organization. When I was involved, I did think it was an ethical organization. Now, when you allow elections like this, you cast doubts on that.
And lastly, you stated that Ramaphosa does not seem to be focused on the range of issues that are explosive in the country at the moment, as he said that in 2 weeks' time there could be a significant change in the situation where people found themselves under great pressure from price hikes. So do you think he was just making a publicity stunt, as there's no development that we have seen?
Well, I just thought it was ill-judged in the sense that you can't turn around the conditions that have led to price hikes in 2 weeks. So that if 2 weeks pass and nothing happens, your credibility gets damaged. So my suggestion really was that Ramaphosa was actually creating a problem for himself by making an undertaking that was unrealizable. If you look and calculate what it took to introduce VAT price hikes, they relate to the big debt that the country has, the cost of oil because of the weakening of the rand. Now, all of this is hitting the poor very, very hard, but some choices had to be made, and he would have to convince his government of the need to rearrange the choices that have been made, and all of this has been publicly advanced. They provided their justification. People have criticized it. It's not so simple to turn that around in 2 weeks. So my point really was, why make the claim that you will change things in 2 weeks when it's unrealizable?
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the undeclared crisis of the new dawn.